This week's episode of the Peter Montgomery Show is proudly brought to you by Savvy SME. Simply smarter, simply social, the social network for Australian business owners. Well, g'day, Nicola. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you back. You were here on episode 10 way back when I was first starting out, and here we are at episode 53, I think it is.
Oh, wow.
So how are you doing?
Yeah, really well, thank you. How are you?
I'm going good.
Excited to be here.
Now, episode 10 was filmed early last year, and we caught up again at in the Gold Coast end of last year as well. Renegade Rockstar Roadshow. You were there, I was there, and we hung out, and it was good. Now, if the Facebook posts that I'm looking at, because I watch everyone, I'm watching, okay.
And watching, like sneaky in the background, Pete Montgomery.
So if those Facebook posts that I'm looking at are to be believed, there's been a big shift in your business. Now, you were doing well before, but something's changed. Can you talk about what's happened?
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. So probably the biggest thing that's changed, it's probably not so much of a big change, actually. It's more around momentum and being consistent and pushing boundaries a little bit more than what I had before in the past and that kind of thing. Really, probably the biggest shift has been me around my attitude's not quite the right word, but really owning me. You know, it's like that. I always have said with friends that it's you get the good, the bad, and the ugly with me, right? It's warts and all. You get the nice Nicola and you get the evil Nicola, and so it's kind of like I've embraced more of that, I suppose, and I don't hold back. Like, I talk about stuff that is pissing me off, and I talk about stuff that's really super awesome, and it's more around, owning everything. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, okay, it does.
Being more authentic.
I kind of get it, but like, there's being authentic, like I am now authentic and I'm doing authentic things, and there is like really being it, right? So I've kind of understood that over the last year and a half of doing stuff on camera and behind the scenes, out in the open, and you know, I guess it's bridging the gap between what's going on inside and going on out there. Is that a fair assessment? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. It's a better. There are days when I still have shitty days, right? You know, the business is doing brilliantly. My clients are amazing and they're getting really, really great results. But I still have shit days. And it's showing everyone out there that there's good days and there's bad days. The stupid bullshit that everybody thinks that small business is sunshine and lollipops and rainbows and everything's beautiful and awesome. It's not true. There are some days that are really great and I talk about that, and then there's some other days that are really shit and I talk about that. And I guess for me, it's more about being as open as humanly possible, being as vulnerable as possible, so that women are constantly fed this stupid misconception that everything is fine and then you just need to make $100,000 and all your worries go away. And it's just not true. So it's more about showing the truth of small business rather than hiding behind this stupid facade that most people think is real.
Okay, so what do you see?
Does that make sense?
Yeah. What do you see then is the problem that was back then? Is it the training that people get that make them kind of have to put on a facade, fake it till you make it type stuff, and then you kind of evolved into this point where you realize, well, that's just not really that good. Behaving like that, or like what's happened? Is it an evolution over time, or was there some magical training day that you went, aha, now I've got it and here I all am?
Evolution over time, definitely evolution over time. In fact, it's really hilarious, and I tell all of my girls and anybody who wants to listen to go back and have a look at some of my early videos that I put up on YouTube, even going back like 2 years ago. They are fucking hilarious. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm doing these videos on how to do a wardrobe makeover and, you know, being all prim and proper and serious because that's how I thought that I needed to be. So it's sort of been this evolution primarily, like really over the last couple of years, where I've stepped into more of me and stopped being who I thought people needed me to be and just being me. And you know what? There is a whole heap of people that don't like me, and that's fine. I don't care, because the people who do like me are awesome and I love them. So...
Okay, so how has that changed then in a business sense? You know, I'm guessing then because of that you've got a different type of client now coming through the door. Yeah, how has that changed? Who are the clients that you're working with now?
Women that want the same thing, really. They've been looking for permission to be themselves. I don't know quite always how to do that just yet, but they want to learn how they can do that, because like even a lady popped up on a thing the other day. One of my clients wrote, God, I've just got to stop being so serious. I'm actually really funny and all my marketing is so corporate and boring. You know, I don't want to buy from me. And I wrote back just going like, who would have thought? Be yourself. You know, wonder how things are going to change. So that's really what they're looking for. They're looking for the permission to be themselves, and therefore being able to infuse that into their messaging, into their marketing, into everything that they're putting out there. I've also gotten a lot better at understanding what my girls want before they find me. So, you know, it's really listening to what people are telling you that they want and giving them that.
Okay, now my question is based on that comment then. What if people are kind of starting out and they haven't got people letting them know in the first place what it is they're after, that, you know, I'm the right person to be sort of providing service to that person. How do you go about getting in touch with those people then?
Yeah, great question. So what I always say to the girls that come in that might be startups, and I don't get a lot of startup women. They generally have been in business for some period of time, and so they understand a bit about who they want to work with. The biggest problem with marketing that most people have is that they don't have a niche. We're talking about niche, right? It's if you don't have a niche and you don't know who it is that you're going to work with, then you're pretty much up the duff. You know, you need to know who it is that you want to work with. Otherwise, you can't construct your marketing and your message to get them. So we go through this process where it's like, okay, who do you want to work with? Who do you like working with, or who do you think you might like working with? It doesn't mean that's who you have to stay with for the next 90 years. It's just, let's have a bit of a focus around what it is that you want, people that you think you might like to work with, and build a business or build a program around that within your field of expertise.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Now, this is a kind of a topic, I guess, that can be troublesome to some, is coming up with your niche. You sit down, you've been to Renegade Rockstar, not just you, but, you know, we've been to Renegade Rockstar Roadshow, we've been to this show and this event and that thing, and the systems are kind of similar, right? Everyone's kind of learnt the same stuff that works and has packaged it in their way, right, and deliver it in their way to make it, you know, still, no one's, without ripping everyone off, the stuff that works, and here's how I want to deliver that. How do you kind of define your niche? What are maybe a series of questions to come up with your niche now? So if someone's there watching now, I don't know how to come up with my niche, because I kind of have trouble with that as well, because then you lose focus because you're interested in this and you're interested in that, and it's kind of hard to stick with a thing.
Yeah.
So what's a package up a set of questions that people might ask themselves right now to come up with, you know, the beginnings of finding out what their niche is?
Great question. So what I'd say, the first thing that I always say is like, okay, so who is it that you actually want to work with, and what is it that you actually want to deliver? You know, what is it that you want to do, and who do you want to work with? So if you can't think of someone, then is it someone who is you 12 months ago, for argument's sake, or you 3 years ago, where you know that you can help them achieve certain breakthroughs or whatever it happens to be. And that can be a really great place to start. And then you go, okay, so in general terms, I go, all right, is it male or female? What age group are they in? You know, 20 to 70 is a great group of people, but it's not a niche, right? So you might be able to help all of those kinds of people, but it doesn't help you with your marketing because you want to be really specific. So what I get them to do is go, all right, what are the problems that they're facing right now? What is it they really need to know? What's the stuff that's running through their head? How are they feeling? What are they experiencing? So that you can then create an avatar or a persona of who your ideal perfect client is. And what will happen is that once you've got the basic parameters, you can then start to really flesh them out. And I actually get all my girls to go and research women that fit, or men, if that's their niche, fit whatever the basic parameters are, so that we can start to learn even more about them, so that you can then really tailor everything that you put out there to that one kind of person. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the bottom line, the first starting point always has to be, right, who are they? How old are they? How are you going to help them? And then let's go a bit deeper into the psychology of that person and what it is that they really need to hear and what it is that they really need to know. Most people have a whole heap of trouble around this because they, like you're saying, they're like, oh, but I can help this person and I can help this person. And, you know, I can help someone whether they're 30 or whether they're 50. I guess the point is, I was talking to a lady just before getting on the phone to you, and she was like, my niche is early 20s to about 50. She's a weight loss coach. And what I said to her is, okay, you know, if you had to pick an age range of 10 years, what would you pick? She said 30 to 40. I said, okay, cool. So if you think about a 30-year-old woman who's overweight, is she married? Has she got kids? Yep. She's probably married and probably got kids. Okay, great. So she's probably feeling frustrated about being overweight. She's probably a bit anxious, maybe a little bit depressed. She's probably hating getting dressed in the morning. She's finally decided that after she's had her kids, she's ready to start doing something for herself so that she can rebuild her confidence and that type of thing. If nothing changes, what is going to happen for her? Perhaps her husband might leave her. Maybe she'll die of a heart attack in 15 years' time because she's not getting the weight off. You know, she's tried every diet under the sun. She's tried the shakes, the pills, the hypnotherapy. She's tried absolutely everything in every stream humanly possible. She's about to go and have surgery. But what's going to change, really? You know, what if nothing actually changes? What if she puts the weight back on? So all of a sudden, instead of just having a niche who's a woman who's overweight, you've got this fabric around a person so that you can tap into them and really show them that you care and that you can help them. The way you connect with that 30-year-old lady who's married with children, who's finished having kids and wants to be there to see her kids graduate from school, is going to have a different outlook and a different emotional connectability, perhaps, to someone who's, say, 50 years old. Woman who's about to go through menopause, they could be exactly the same in terms of their thought process. But the way that you're going to connect and grab her is going to be very different to a 30-year-old lady. Does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now you've got your niche. So in that example, she's much closer to discovering who her niche is to create that avatar.
Yep.
What's next?
I get them to go out and interview women that fit that like in this example, 30 to 40, she's overweight, she's tried every diet under the sun. We come up with a series of some strategic questions to interview them so that we can start to hear what language they use, what problems they're having, what they're worrying about at 2 o'clock in the morning when they can't sleep, all of that kind of stuff, so that you can really then actually use the words of women who are, or in this case, the women that are experiencing these problems, so that you can find out what language they're using so that you can use that in your marketing.
Okay, two questions. How do you find those people to interview, and are you recording the interviews to then transcribe and use later on? Yeah, is that?
Yeah, I don't get them to record the interviews. I just get them to write their answers on a piece of paper thing.
Yep.
So that, they can use the data that they've sourced. In terms of finding them, you just draw upon your networks. Hey, looking at interviews some women that fit this to this, can you help me out? These are the general parameters, and then you kind of go from there.
Okay, cool. Okay. Now, trying to think of, so that's your niche. It sounds like you create a story around the person so that someone reading that goes, you've just explained my whole situation.
Precisely.
Now, you put that into your marketing, right? So what is your marketing then? In that case, what do you do with that information, that story, to get people to find you?
Excellent question. So what I do I've got my niche is a chick called Danny. She's 37. She's got a couple of kids, been in business about 12 months. She's doing okay, but she needs to get herself out there more. And she's worried that things are going to fall over or fail if she doesn't actually make all of this stuff happen. She's worried about her husband leaving her or thinking that she's a failure, the kids laughing at her, all of this kind of stuff. So what I do and what I recommend everybody does is when I'm kind of like stuck for stuff to write, and I put this up on my page the other day, when I'm stuck for things to write, I pretend that Danny, because that's my avatar, I pretend she's sitting behind my computer screen and I talk to her, right? So my webinars are all created for her. My program is created for her. All my Facebook posts, if I'm stuck, I go, what does Danny need to hear today? Whatever it might be. There are days when she needs her ass kicked. There's days when she just needs a bit of a squishy cuddle. There's days where it needs to be a bit of both, or she just needs a bit of motivation. Like, it sounds a little kooky, but I talk to her.
No, I love it. I love it because I understand, for me, the difference is doing a presentation, staring down the barrel of the camera. I am now saying everything, and it must be word for word, perfect and fit, and be, you know, no mistakes and ums and ahs. But the difference when I'm actually just having a conversation with someone, I can talk myself into a corner, easily back out, take a different direction. No one skips a beat because it's conversational. So
Yeah.
does it work in the same way where rather than trying to come up with an article, what can I write about today, sending a message to someone via email?
Yeah. Like, literally, I write for Danny. Like, that's what I do. So I picture where Danny, to be honest, like, Danny's like me 18 months, 2 years ago. So I know her really, really well. The fears that she has now are pretty much the fears that I had, 2 years, 18 months ago. So I that makes it a little bit easier. But like, I literally just, I talk to her. And the girl that I was just saying that I had on the phone just before you, I actually read her out. I read her out my Danny summary, like my whole persona of Danny. She's like, oh my God, that's me. And I said, I know.
That's why you're on the phone with me now.
Tricky, yeah, but it works. So you just, forget the thing that people do that's ridiculous is they make it all about them. They think about themselves rather than thinking about what the people that they want to help need to hear.
I'm just going to ponder on that for a second. Just
sure.
Hang in there.
Okay.
Just talk amongst yourselves. Okay, now
well, that sounded like a bit of like Leisure Suit Larry music or something, or like
it's actually from it's my waiting music, and it's from the Cable Guy.
Ah, there you go.
He does it while he's waiting on the phone. Yeah. So now you found your niche. You're doing all that sort of cool stuff. What are you actually doing in your business now? Are you a speaker? Are you an author? Are you sitting just behind your computer and then having phone conversations? What are you doing?
Well, I'm still mentoring. That hasn't changed. So we talked about that last year. I mentor women in small business to get themselves out there, market themselves more powerfully, all of that kind of stuff. So that hasn't changed. The way that I deliver is slightly different. So I deliver via programs, and I help and support the girls as they move through in, each week. We do live events. So we just had a 2-day live event actually on the Gold Coast about a month ago, actually, and treated them all, took them out, and, had 2 days of epic awesomeness. Really great breakthroughs in the room that comes off the back of the 8-week accelerator program that they've been through. So they all go through this 8-week thing, and then we spend 2 days together live to do stuff, more breakthrough stuff, really. A lot of the girls need that those final clarifications around what they've done. So they're building up, implementing, getting results, and then they have those amazing breakthroughs in the room, which is really cool.
What type of breakthroughs are you talking about?
A lot of it is around the stuff that I was saying before, around really being yourself. And, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So, I talk a lot about that, and I get them to do different things that help them to break out of that everything has to be a certain way type thing, and this is what I should be doing. And, I had one girl that's gone, I fucking hate my business name. No wonder nobody's buying my stuff because I fucking hate my business. I've gone, okay, excellent. So what are we going to do to fix that? And so, it's those little things. Breakthroughs around sales, around money stuff, around being scared to get on the phone, around being scared to put themselves out there. What else do we have? One girl had gone, the business is going really, really well, and I know I wanted to sell it, and that was the whole point of doing all of this stuff that I've been doing, but now I don't think I want to sell it. What am I going to do now? This is all so exciting. It's like you see the light bulbs popping on their heads regularly through these 2 days where they're like, oh my God, I could just do that. It's like, of course you can. It's showing them that there really is unlimited possibilities and their potential is limitless. It's exciting and fun and I love it.
So business is fun again for people.
Yes, because if that's what they want, it doesn't have to be fun. If you don't want to have fun in business, then that's fine. You don't have to have fun. The girls that I work with, they want the fun back. They just don't know how to kind of make it happen. So I help them because I'm silly and stuff.
What is the common reason that you find people get stuck for? Why do we get stuck? What is it that, because we do things, we go to this thing, we implement as much as we can, but there's so much of it, and then you try and do that, and then you come to the next thing, which after a while you get a bit jaded by all that stuff, right? This event, that event, well, what's going to be different about this one? But I found coming out of the back end of a few years doing that now, you look back on it and you go, every one of those little things along the way created the momentum to get to the next thing, to then have the overall look back and go, wow, I've actually broken through a lot of stuff and released a lot of junk that was just in the way. What's the most common sort of things that people are getting stuck on?
That's a really great question. A lot of the girls that I speak to, they're like, you know what, I know what I need to do and I know what I should do, but I don't know how to do it. So typically what happens with a lot of these events that people go to is they're told what it is that they need to do. You need to just go and do this, or you need to just go and do that, and they're told what and they're not told how to do things. And that really pisses me off. But anyway, there's a whole lot of overwhelm that tends to happen in the room, and then they come out and then they either get frozen, they can't see the forest for the trees, they are just, or they're just stuck with not knowing what to do next. They don't know how to prioritize what it is that they need to do. They lack direction. They've got no goals, or they think they do have goals, but they're really not goals. They're like, yeah, sometime in the future I want to be doing this, when if it's not really aligned with what they're doing now, it's not going to help give them that momentum to get what it is that they want. That kind of makes sense. So what I'm really passionate about is saying to the girls, look, I'm going to tell you what it is that you need to do, but I'm also going to tell you how it is that you're going to need to do it, how you're going to do it, how you need to do it to get the result, and support you and guide you through that whole process so that you're not just left to your own devices. So you're not just sort of like thrown out and going, there you go, off you go, fly. And like, how the fuck do I fly my wings? It's that what they need and how they need to do it. That's sort of, it's a really big thing that's missing. And I don't know if you've seen, you probably have, I've got an event coming up in October, the Sales and Marketing Spy School event.
Give me some dates, some places, some times.
Yeah,
Put it out there.
The whole big thing about this event is to tell people, women who maybe can't afford to do my 8-week program, which is a fairly high cost, get them in a room, give them some things of what they need to do and how they need to do it, so that they're not just going to some other stupid event where they're given a whole bunch of what and now buy my shit. Yeah, so that's what this event is. It's a lower level, so it's a lower entry level, so that people can get some implementable things that they can do to get some results. It's just, that's what
Okay, first of all, what's the name of the event?
Sales and Marketing Spy School.
Where's it at?
It's the event theme's like 2013 Never Say Die. It's a bit of a James Bond theme. And it's the 18th to the 20th of October in Melbourne. Melbourne.
Okay. And do you have a specific link to sign up to that I can put on, or how do people get onto that?
We've actually sold out.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So you
Too bad. You missed out. Should have got in contact with her earlier.
We've got we're sold out. So we've got 80 people coming.
Wow.
We sold out last week. So
when you say we, who are you partnering with, someone or?
I have a sales team. So I've got 2 full-time salespeople that are doing stuff, and we've sold out the event like 4 months before. So
okay, now
the only thing that can happen is I can flick you through a link. They can go on a waiting list.
Yep.
So if we do have people who are going to fall out, then, because that will probably happen, there's the opportunity to go on the waiting list. So
okay, well, we'll definitely include that link underneath. So if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, come over to the site, click below, go find that link. Now, a question I want to ask you, right, because I'm sure there's people out there that want to fill a room full of 80 people.
I'm sure there are.
What's your best working lead generation technique?
Up-to-date webinars.
Up-to-date webinars, what does that mean?
Up until today.
Up until today,
have been webinars. But then there's also, you can't just go and advertise a webinar and fill an event.
What's the lead generation to get people into a webinar to get them into an event?
Precisely. Like, it's not just the one thing. It's like it's ecosystem. It's like the ecosystem, right? If the krill die, we're all fucked, yeah? So you can't have just like put on a webinar without all the stuff that sort of comes in before it.
Okay, how about this? Walk us through the process to fill a room full of 80 people. What are you doing?
Lead generation. Sales, obviously. You've got to be selling your seat. So this is not a free event. I hate free events. So this is not a free event. You've got to be selling tickets, and you need to start selling them 6 months in advance. My mentors, that was one of the best pieces of advice that my mentors gave me, which is Leela and Thor, was to start selling this a minimum 6 months before your event, to make sure that you're not scrambling at the end and having 30 people in a room. So you've got to have your lead generation working. You need to understand who your avatar is. You have to have a sales process and a sales funnel. You've got to be on the phone selling tickets. It's the only way it's going to work. It's the same with anything, whether you're selling programs, whether you're selling an event, whether you're selling mentoring clients, whether you're selling horse bits, like one of my clients. You've got to be on the phone selling. If you're not on the phone selling, your conversions are going to be like this big, and you've got to generate a hell of a lot more leads to be able to fill your room. So
to get a little bit more specific now in getting people to the webinar, are you doing Facebook ads? Are you on Facebook? What's some of the mechanics behind
Facebook
that?
ads.
Just talk about that. So mainly Facebook ads.
Yep.
So you're using the Super Ninja, Leela Thor, Super Duper Facebook ad technique thing that they do?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a refined, because I was doing, I think when I spoke to you last year, I was still Facebook advertising, because the 7-day challenge was what I was talking about with you last year. That was all Facebook advertising and all that kind of thing. And then I think it was in September where we worked through some refinements, and it's just made it even better. So, yeah.
So you really refined that down, and then once you're selling, so it's selling all the way, selling that first click, selling that webinar, getting them into the door and doing all that stuff.
Which you can't do any of that if you don't understand who your niche is. It won't work, and you'll spend a whole lot of money and you'll get no results. You'll make no sales. You won't get people on your webinar. You've got to understand who your niche is, and you've got to have your message right. So it's codependent.
So it's really, what's the simplest way for someone to kind of get that with a stripped down version? Because when you get sort of more advanced, like sounds like you're pretty advanced at this stuff now. You're just starting out with something just like with your program. How do you get all of that in place, or do you have to do one thing at a time? Get your niche, then get that. How does it work? Can you work on it a bit here and a bit there overall on the system?
if you want to get your results slower, you can do a bit here and a bit there. If you want to get faster results so that you can make more money, so that you can tap into your market and that kind of stuff and generate the leads being a name and an email address, of course.
Yep.
The best way to do it is systematically, but do it like one after the other rather than going a bit here and then going and tolling off and doing some stuff.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do people not go, it all has to be perfect, aha, now I can release my whole shebang to people, so that is it like you get the first thing underway, then you get the second thing, then you can actually sort of do some ads and get people in contact with you, getting leads and getting customers while you're building the rest of it. Does it kind of work like that, or do you have to have it all in place for it to kick off?
Depends on what you mean by all the rest of it. To be clear, you can go and discover your niche, go and work out who that is, work out who you are and what your message is, create your landing pages or your tabs or whatever it is that you're going to do, or your webinar or whatever you're going to do to capture those names and email addresses, and then you can start selling. You don't have to have all of I haven't written the content for the event yet.
I guess that's, yeah. So you can start collecting names, start getting ticket sales for the event. You know all your stuff, but you haven't packaged it up exactly how you're going to deliver it on the day.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Hear what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your secret mission. I'm going to talk about teaching assets and operatives, how to create your own hit list, propaganda, field operations, and then creating your own alias secret identity. So, I know they're the topics that I'm going to cover. I haven't actually gone through and written all the content yet, because I know it. But you don't have to, my advice, get that first little bit done so that you've got your you know who you are, you know who your niche is, you know what your message is, get your Facebook ad done, start generating leads, start selling, and then just have a start date for further on down the track so that once you've sold it, then you can create it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Now, is there a way where, or do you do this? Because I've heard of it through other people, where you can actually tailor the event more to knowing, your stuff, but tailoring it to, okay, well, I've got these people in the room, and actually ask them questions and, what do you need more of? So you can really find out what that group of people needs kind of the most. Do you do any of that kind of stuff, or do you just go, got my program, I already know who it's for, and it's just going to
I know what they need. I've been doing this long enough now to know what it is that they need. But there's no reason why you couldn't do it in that way, where you put on an event, so long as you've got my advice would be, so long as you've got your core elements that you know that they need to know. And then if you've got some time that you need another topic or something like that, then why not ask them what they need?
Okay.
It's always what they think they need, though. It's not necessarily what they actually need.
Yeah. So if you just rely, like Henry Ford said that famous line, if I listened to my customers, we'd have faster horse and buggies,
precisely,
as opposed to cars.
Exactly. But it's always interesting to know what they think they need as well. So yeah. And if it ties in, then cool.
Okay. Now, a question that I like to ask is, how can people know that this is going to work for them in their business?
That's a really great question. The best way that I can answer that is via my results and via the results that my girls are getting. So generally speaking, the system that I teach works, right? So if you're in the system, if you use the system and you do what I tell you to do, then there's no reason why it won't work for you. My clients are getting results. I'm getting the results using the exact system that I teach. So the only way that it wouldn't work is if you're shortcutting or if you're not implementing. And I'm pretty strict around who I let into my programs anyway, to make sure that I've got that they have got the best chance possible of implementing and getting results. I will not take on people who don't do the work. I'll boot them out of my program. I don't want them. I don't need it, don't want it. I want my girls to get results. So in terms of whether or not it would work for them, I guess I've got product-based businesses. I've got service-based businesses. I've got mentors. I've got coaches. I've got weight loss people. I've got hairdressers, music teachers. They all get results So the only reason that it wouldn't work for you is if you don't implement.
Okay. Now, what I like from that is that you're not teaching people through doing the events on how to set up and run events necessarily, so that they can learn how to set up and run events, and they can learn set up and run events. Your stuff actually works for business, real business, bricks and mortar, or, you know, service-based stuff. It works across the board.
Exactly.
Excellent, Hunter. Okay, listen, where can people find you when they want to find out more information? Maybe if they can't get the next event, that they can get to the one after, or just get on your list so that you can just stay in touch with them. Where do we send them?
Sure. The easiest place to find me is on Facebook. My business page is probably the best place to come and hang out. It's just Nicola Moras. The website is, it's really original, nicolamoras.com.au. Yeah, that's probably the best. I will put the link up for the event because I can't remember it. It's really long. Yep. So, yeah, there's like free tips. There's like free strategy sessions that they can hook in on. Yeah, and of course the waiting list for the event if people fall off.
Yes, it's a big if, and you just never know. Okay, thanks so much for coming on the show. There's something I want to ask you, though, which is completely unrelated.
Okay.
How's Derby going?
Oh, my God, it's awesome. I'm loving it. I'm learning how to skate backwards. It's like the most hardest thing ever. It's awesome. I love it because I'm not the best at it and because I've had to learn something new, and it's really pushed me out of my comfort zone because I didn't know anybody here that was doing it. So I've had to go and meet like a whole bunch of people that I didn't know before, and they're awesome. And yeah, skating backwards is like this whole reverse. I've got to change my way my head works and stuff. It's fantastic.
What's your team called?
We are, it's just Mildura Roller Derby League. I think we're the dolls. There's like, there's a bit of a conflict around the name of the team.
They need to work out who their niche is.
That's right. Who are our players? It's just the Mildura Roller Derby League. But then there's also these other things like the Deacon Dolls.
So what position do you mainly play?
I'm not good enough to have a position yet, which makes me very angry. But I am. We've got the next assessment. I've got the next assessment.
What are you working towards? What do you want to be?
Well, I want to be a jammer.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. I like going fast and stuff. It's cool.
I was going to say because they're the ones that whiz around and
it's ridiculous. Yeah. So and I'm really good at falling over. So. I can just like scoot through and fall over and stuff. So no, it's the best fun. If I said to another client yesterday, if you don't have something that's completely non-related to business, that just you can just go and just do silly, stupid, awesome stuff, you need to find something like that. So yeah, it's the best fun.
That's probably like a key golden little nugget there of business advice is find something else to be obsessed about as well.
That's also, yes, we need another obsession. But also that's not to do with business people, that have nothing to do with anything that you do through the day normally, so that you can just literally take off your business brain and go out and do something else. So, yeah, no, great fun. Best fun ever. All
right, Nicola, thanks so much for coming on. I look forward to it. We'll definitely get you on maybe another year from now to sort of talk about what's changed.
Fun. Awesome.
Okay, you take it easy. I'll see you next time.